Hello everyone, welcome to the Rundown. Thanks to AGL. For all your energy needs, go to agl.com.au. Well, controversy surrounds the panel today because last week, as you would be aware, Andrew Embley was a late withdrawal. The selectors have spoken. The Norm Smith Medalist Premiership player has been omitted permanently from the Rundown today. Ryan Daniels from 7 News, and we're joined by big Paddy Sweeney, so the free-to-air networks are well-versed here today. Welcome, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you, Goss. And we've gone taller, so clearly they thought they wanted a bit more height on the side, less running, and it really wanted to trouble the defenders.
One big happy family. Our selection's probably a little bit like Adelaide. It's a bit all over the shop this year, isn't it?
Now, last week, Ryan spoke about kicking 4 goals for John Wollaston in a quarter and then not getting cited. I kicked the winning goal in the 89 D-grade premiership for Wembley. Your claim to fame also involves putting a snag through.
Yeah, the only goal in the B-plate grand final. I say B-plate because we were there in the second half of the division. We were that bad, and we got rolled by about 16 goals against Cardinia. So not a good day.
Only kicked 1 goal for the match, the whole team.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, beautiful.
But moving along, let's get on with the show.
Good to see you kicked on. Last week, it was a narrow win for the West Coast Eagles, and they were challenged at various stages. In summary, a win's a win. That's exactly what Adam Simpson would say. And it had a finals-like feel about it, Paddy.
Yeah, it did. And I think the intensity and the pressure would have suited West Coast in terms of getting a nice dress rehearsal. Purely for mine, it was the weight of numbers for West Coast that actually got the job done. You look at the supply and territory. The inside 50s, 63 inside 50s to 41. West Coast should have won this game by 10 goals, and I think that first quarter they missed opportunities as well. So the spread, as I mentioned, Darling, Allen, Waterman, all 3 goals. Willie Rioli, career high, 21 touches. They're just getting contributions from everyone at the moment, which is a great sign going into finals.
It felt like to me, we've talked a lot about different kinds of wins and how premiership teams need to win ugly and they need to win well and they need to win big. This was one where they just outlasted a team that had so much to play for. They were so desperate. And Adelaide constantly, it seemed, were getting lucky. They were getting lucky bounces. Tex Walker's goal was ridiculous. They had a couple others that just sort of worked their way perfectly. So they just had to outlast. And there were 2 things to me that stood out from an individual standpoint. One was Josh Kennedy, not because he was the man, but because he was the foil. Because he allows, his role now is so important, not to be the Coleman medalist anymore, but to be the guy who gives Jack Darling a chance to do what Jack Darling does well. Same with Waterman, same with Rioli and Ryan. He is the key to that entire forward line because he unlocks everybody else. And it really unlocked Willie Rioli. I was thinking yesterday who the best small forward in the competition is, and it's clearly Charlie Cameron. But after that, Willie Rioli is in the conversation with 5 or 6 other blokes. He's that good right now. His form is terrifying.
Need a rest, Josh Kennedy. I think Adam Simpson almost fell off his chair yesterday when that was suggested. I mean, really? 2 games out from the finals campaign and Josh Kennedy needs a rest. He's been champing at the bit to get out there and train and play every week.
How important do you think forward line chemistry is? Because to me that is the most important thing heading into a final series.
Absolutely. Now, my turning point last week was when Shannon Hearn rushed that through. I honestly believe, and I've said this before, I think it actually woke everyone from their slumber. They kicked 4 goals in 11 minutes after that point, and the crowd came to life. It was almost like we had a hangover from the Wallabies the night before. The bottom line is, I reckon that stung. I think, as much as it was a free kick, and I think Adam Simpson was quick to knock that on the head when the crowd was getting upset. I think it was just the emotion and the frustration of the fans more than anything. There was no protest, apart from Gov, I think, but he needs to read the rules. Just in regards to what happened in that, and I think it was actually the trigger point for West Coast to go, come on guys, we've got to start getting a little bit serious. And it was one surge that was the end result.
Well, sometimes you need a spark, whether it be a little mini melee or just a disappointing decision from an umpire or a one-on-one contest where someone does something spectacular, maybe like Liam Ryan 2 weeks ago with that mark. You're right, those moments can just shift momentum a little bit and just make you angry. Hearn's the Hulk, isn't he?
Yeah, 2 things I loved about that was Will Schofield was filthy because Taylor Walker got another goal. Then about 10 minutes later, the ball went down to the Eagles forward line and it went about 2 metres out and they rushed it through and the crowd went absolutely bonkers. I think everyone needs to read up on the rules.
Very much so. Now, Dustin Martin probably holds the key. Aside of the 2 boys up forward, more on those in a moment in regards to Revolt and Lynch. But let's talk about Dusty Martin. Is he having the same impact as the Dusty Martin we know in regards to his effectiveness, not so much stats, but his impact on play? And when Cochin's not there, is he a very different player, Ryan?
That 2017 season is one of the best individual seasons we will ever see. It may be the best. He's the first ever to win a Norm, a Brownlow and a premiership in the same year. So that is almost put to the side. His first half of this season was not Dusty level, not even close. but he is in red-hot form. I know he missed last week, but before that, he was really starting to turn the corner into something dangerous, the match winner that we know he is. I don't think it matters for him if Cochin's there or not anymore. I think there's other guys around that are starting to lift. Bolton, Graham, these guys look pretty good now. I think if you're going to stop him, this is why Mark Hutchings is in the team. That is what he's here for. The problem is when Dusty goes forward, he'll tear Hutchie apart. So that's where Jackson Nelson comes in. That's what these two guys need to do now, because this is your perfect opportunity to get it right with a forward midfield mix in terms of your tagging.
I think it's a twofold effect as well. Hutch definitely in the middle. I actually think that Will Schofield's the man for the job.
Dusty?
Yeah, in the forward line. I do. And I know it sounds a little bit weird, but he is your real lockdown defender. And I think we saw that in the grand final. He played on steel side bottom at times. He played tall, and he also played on Jordan De Goey at times in that forward 50. He was isolated. No bigger stage to perform on than the grand final when you're in the D50 all by yourself at sea, 100,000
So
fans.
the question there is then, if you're putting Schofield on Dusty, then you've got Lynch and Revolt. So that means McGovern and Barris have to somehow lock down on those two guys.
They could potentially. Otherwise, then you leave Shepherd. He can do a little bit of that comeback intercept. You want to free him up as well. I think Jackson Nelson, he's an option. The thing is with Dusty, he has to be a team approach. There's there's not one person that can shut down him. He's too good, and he's got that swagger back, as you said. He's now running, he's kicking goals with confidence as well.
What's a win? What's a win with Dusty? At the end, on Sunday afternoon, not just let's take team result out of it, but what are the numbers we need to see for Dustin Martin for the Eagles to win the game?
Well, it's interesting. You say take the team result, give him 45 and win by a point. I think that's exactly what Adam Simpson would want, because that does happen where players get a lot of it. He's more damaging mid-forward, we know that, and that's going to be the issue. You probably want to work him the other way. So you talk about Hutchings. Hutchings almost has to be an offensive player as well. He's got to be a weapon. He's got to push down, maybe get Dusty out of his comfort zone, defending around that sort of 65, 70 zone area. I think there has to be a level of attack from Mark Hutchings and not just in that shutdown mode, albeit that's what he's in the team for. So you believe Will Schofield, Paddy, has a role to play. If Andrew Embley's watching, you're welcome back to come here next week. There is no chance.
You don't think?
No
I reckon
chance.
Scully loves the opportunity.
I know he
Loves
would.
The big stage. I think he would.
It doesn't fit them. It doesn't fit. It's not. Dusty's not even going to be down that far. Scully's a last line defender.
And we talk about Josh Kennedy. This week it came up with the unlocking of the forward line. Schofield does that for the back line.
Correct.
Because it allows McGovern and Barris to do exactly what they do well. And Shep and Hearn, and it just switches everything up. So I think not a bad idea.
Terrible idea.
Terrible idea.
I want Schofield to have a crack at it.
Okay, well,
I'd love to see it happen.
It might happen. Josh Kennedy and Jack Darling. Okay, now we've waxed lyrical about JD, Jack Darling in super season. More on him in a moment. Revolt and Lynch are the standouts, and Adam Simpson made comment of it at his press conference. He basically said it looks like they've been playing together for 5 years. The synergy's there, the space is there, they know which each other's working, and that was when they went and got Lynch. That was the concern that a lot of people had, that would stifle Jack Revolt's style. Now, Revolt hasn't had the world's best season through injuries and the like. They do play some incredible football as a duo. Who's the best out of the two? If we're comparing head-to-head, the duos.
The best two right now is probably the Richmond combo, but it's close. Who will be the best in this particular game? I think West Coast will be, but I'm taking it out of just those two guys. I'm looking at it from the whole forward line point of view, and it comes back to that Kennedy unleashing the rest of those guys. I think as a total, West Coast forward line is more potent. But the reason the Revolt Lynch thing works is because about 3 years ago, Jack Revolt figured out that if he's unselfish, the team is far better.
Yep.
He doesn't care if he kicks goals anymore. It's like with Geelong with Cam Mooney, and all he cared about was goal assists. That's what it sort of turned to with Jack Revolt. He figured it out. That's the secret, it's the chemistry.
Yeah, and I think with West Coast, I think the more potent combination in terms of scoreboard pressure will be the Richmond, but I think in terms of team importance, it's definitely West Coast, because I still think Josh Kennedy's the most important Eagle running around in the park to the makeup of the team, and I think that the amount of pressure they apply, the crunching packs, creating opportunities for small, and then also the pressure, I think that's Jack Darling and Josh Kennedy.
Rank them. Those four guys, in terms of who you'd most like to have right now heading into September, out of Darling, Kennedy, Lynch and Revolt. Wonderful.
Good question.
Story without notice. Question without notice.
Darling, Lynch, Kennedy, Revolt. Darling, Lynch, Kennedy, Revolt for me, straight off the top of my head.
I agree.
I'd go JK number one and swap JK and Darling.
Okay.
You did right about Kennedy last week, and I made comment of it during the commentary, that he didn't get beaten in any one-on-ones last week. And that is just a sign of a mature man who realises, as you said, It's not about kicking 5 or 6. Bring the ball down, bring everyone else into the game, and he just physically gets in the way.
Yeah.
You know, and unless it's a really bad kick and it clears his head and he's sort of caught underneath the footy. But pound for pound, in those one-on-ones, and that's where I think he'll play. Well, I think Grimes will get the job. I imagine Grimes will get the job. Grimes will like that. He'll like to run off Kennedy. Kennedy's quick. When the ball hits the ground, Kennedy doesn't let it any easy outs. I think Grimes' attacking work through the back 50 can be stifled if Kennedy just drives him mad almost as a defensive forward once the ball's out of his zone.
He did have that moment last week when he hadn't had a goal yet. He could have given it off. He's like, no, I'll just want one. Let me make sure I get my one.
Hardcore fend off.
Don't blame me.
Jack Darling, All-Australian form, of course. I think we're going to have the same answer. Does he warrant being in the All-Australian team? Jack Darling, does he warrant being in the All-Australian team? Ryan Daniels, Paddy Sweeney.
Yeah, the numbers are starting to really stack up. First half of the year, as we've said, it wasn't his best, but he's flipped it from last year. He's actually put his best performance in.
I don't know if you know, but earlier on in the year, Ryan had him in the WAFL.
Well,
no disrespect to the WAFL boys, but that's where he wanted Jack
Ryan had
Darling.
him on the trade table to the Bulldogs. Try and get a Norton or an English back.
I've been do that trade.
Yeah.
Get Aaron,
No,
if you
why?
can get Aaron Norton,
give
you
me
would
a
think about
trade.
that trade. He's kicked 50 goals this year. His career high for a season is 53. He is going to pass that, and that's not even including the finals. So we could see Jack Darling kick close to 60 goals this year. It's his best season statistically. I think he'll be in the All-Australian team, and I think he deserves it.
Yeah, I think there's 3 key forwards in that All-Australian team on the ground. I think Jeremy Cameron, you just have to reward. Tom Hawkins has been standout again. Jack Darling gets the nod over Tom Lynch.
Yeah.
Ben Brown, not so much in the conversation. The reason why I love Jack Darling's work, the top 5 there in the goal kickers, he's actually had the least shots on goal. He's had 68 shots on goal for 50 goals 18. The best conversion rate out of those bigs by a mile, nearly going at 75%. I also wanted to just touch on one of them as well, the stats, the tackles. Darling's had 54 this year. The next best out of those power forwards, Tom Lynch, on 34. So that shows you just how crucial, what we're talking about, the pressure from Darling and Kennedy and what they do in that attacking forward line.
I've got a feeling he's going to end in tears. I don't think he will be in the final lineup, and not because he doesn't deserve to be, but you just get that. And I know we are a little bit in WA, but you reckon they're not over there.
Bigger picture, do you think over the years the West Australian teams, and maybe it's the South Australian teams too, I don't know, do you think they get gypped when it comes to those?
Absolutely.
I've always
Is it
thought
Jacko on the panel?
Yeah, but I feel sorry for Jacko because he's in a no-win situation.
He's a whipping boy.
Because he just walks in and goes, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z, and then he's got 5 other blokes sitting there going, well, sorry, Jack, 5-1. And that's just a numbers game, and he's been loaded up again. So I think he does a remarkable job getting as many as he can in from both football clubs here in the West. But Darling for the squad, I just got a feeling he'll just miss. I hope not. We do this, and I think we've done this for the last couple of weeks, and that is where do we place the West Coast Eagles? And how does the top 4 going to permeate? And we've all done our ladder predictors, and we've all changed them. I keep trying to work out whether Brisbane's stuck in the winning mode. They just keep on winning. Where does it place West Coast? Where do you have West Coast? Can they make the top 2? Because they're going to need top 2 to really get that dream run through. And or hope that Brisbane finish first and they finish third.
Well, that's the part that's actually starting to look possible, isn't it? Yep. Because Brisbane are running red hot. I've tipped them this week against Geelong.
They can beat Richmond next week.
Absolutely. It's going to be very warm at the Gabba. It's 28 degrees apparently. The Cats won't like that. They like it chilly. I think Brisbane will win this weekend. I think West Coast will win this weekend. And that makes things very, very complicated. At the moment, I think the most likely scenario is that West Coast finish third and have to go to the Gabba. Because Brisbane, as you say, they just keep winning. They could easily beat Geelong and Richmond. Yeah. If they drop both of those games, West Coast's in that box seat for second.
Gabba doesn't hold that many fares for West Coast, surely. Yes, go back to round 1, but it was all a bit slow getting going, and Brisbane, I think, caught everyone off guard, and they've continued to do so all year. I'm not so sure going to the Gabba, as much as it's tough, and we know they've been awesome up there this year, I don't think West Coast would fear that.
No, I just don't know you'd want to go there because it's different. The yellow football, they talk about how it plays different at night. If they're playing that...
hang on.
Just,
hey, Paddy,
it's different.
Paddy,
Hang on,
mate. You're now telling me the colour of the football is going to depend on how the West Coast Eagles go in the finals campaign. Because if you are, that spot will be vacant for the rest of the year.
It'll just be one-on-one. I tell you, no, I'm not just saying it, but West Coast, I feel, play their better football at day. I think they play better football daytime than night. And I actually just think Going to the Gabba, it's a different scenario. We talk about the temperature this week for Geelong. I think that does have an impact as well. Brisbane love it up there. It's their own fortress. They're getting sellout crowds. They're up there now. And the other thing is they're not going to have an NRL team probably playing in the finals. Everyone from Brisbane's going to get behind this side.
Yep.
It'll be like a fortress. West Coast must finish top 2 if they want to win the flag.
I think they'll just keep on winning and they'll win this week. Why will they beat Richmond this week?
I think I don't know why they'll beat Richmond this week. I just know that they will. How does that sound? I think
That is so cool. I like that answer. I like that answer. There's no science to it.
Well, I think a lot of the guys that have been playing well for Richmond are momentum guys. Shai Bolton has just come off a little bit. Jack Graham was fantastic last week. Are we sure if he can do that again? I don't know. Rioli's been out of form, the Richmond version of the Riolis. I just think that West Coast right now are clicking on all cylinders. A little birdie's told me that Marlon Pickett won't be named in the main team today, but he is the 23rd man.
Oh, well.
And if there is any sign of an injury, any soreness at all, they are desperate to play him. So don't be surprised if there's a late out that we see a WA product and a great story of Marlon Pickett.
You reckon
coming.
that would be putting the fear of God into the West Coast?
No, not at all.
Pickett is making his debut.
Hey,
as much as we're pleased for
Don't
it.
sleep on Pickett. That guy can play.
What a game to make your debut in.
Yeah,
if you got
exactly.
that. It won't happen.
Fantastic.
West Coast will win this one because they know how crucial top 2 is. I think their team spread at the moment. They're
So
playing.
what, Richmond don't?
No, I just think West Coast is better at the moment. They've got better input from everyone across the board, and I think they've got great depth. They've got great consistency. The amount of talent and players on the park as well, apart from Nick Nat and injuries and Liam Duggan, they're almost operating at their best 22. And the reason why they'll win as well, Luke Shuey loves the ground. Norm is his nickname. 39 touches, a goal, 11 clearances, 9 tackles, and 20 contested possessions. The last time he played there. Not even good enough for a vote from you when that happened agast Hawthorn earlier this year.
He doesn't like Luke Shuey.
Oh, give me a break.
He said Luke Shuey
He'll
should
turn
be
it on
in the
again.
Watford.
Yes?
He'll turn it on again this week. Eagles to win by 13.
Yeah, Eagles MCG holds no fear for them whatsoever. They're in form, and I do believe it all starts in the middle. And we can talk about revolt and what happens down forward, and we can talk about Grimes down back and the like. West Coast have just got to win it at the source, and they've got to win all that contested
Goss,
stuff.
Embers has just texted me. He's tipping Richmond.
Yeah.
He thinks Richmond will win.
By
10
how
goals,
much?
he said.
10 goals?
Yeah, 10 goals.
Well, you can speak to him next week.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. I think there might be a vacant. Marcel Marceau might be sitting in that chair by the end of it. Hey, well played by you. Good to have you on the free-to-air boys get together. Well done. Ryan Daniels from 7 News, Paddy Sweeney from 9. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been the rundown. Thanks to AGL for all your energy needs. It is a huge game Sunday, MCG against Richmond. Go the Eagles.